Ladies and gentlemen, this is Orange coming at you from the future. I am interrupting this broadcast to make an absolutely important announcement because War Thunder and Gaijin have been cooperating to finally fix the battle rating problems we have in the game. So, how did they fix the battle rating of vehicles they did not know how to battle rate and fix? Is it A, by decompressing the matchmaker? Is it B, by decompressing the matchmaker? Or is it C, by decompressing the matchmaker? The correct answer is, in fact, by removing those vehicles from the game. This solution is absolutely brilliant. You see, in the previous patch we had lineups as well as balance coming from these particular vehicles. The King Tiger 2 being one of the most iconic heavy tanks in the game. It is now being replaced by a copy-paste American M48 medium. That's right, a medium tank replacing a heavy tank. It is good things, comrade. And then we have the Panther 2, one of the most significantly iconic and battle rating required vehicles. Yet it's being removed with nothing to replace it. Let's also not forget about the Kugelillion, the absolute undisputed champion of AAA. No way to strafe it, two very good guns. It is also being removed with no replacement. I am kidding, comrade. We bring Ostwind 2. You know what we do? We press Ctrl V and Ctrl P, whatever. We bring new machine to game. It's like Ostwind, but one extra gun. But fear not, these vehicles are of course still available for retail for the next 2 weeks, so buy your brand new TFR Premium tank today and grind yourself to the mouse, which will become unavailable until further event for when we shall make it available, and purchasable through the War Thunder market, because this vehicle is worth thousands and thousands of gold, but not worth fixing. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to today's dating advice. We're going to learn how to slide into the DMs. But before we get there, I wanted to swiftly thank you all for the outstanding positive negativity that you spread, with the last video. It was really nice reading through all the Reddit threads and all the comments and just generally everywhere that message penetrated. You guys were like a real nice squirt of WD-40 straight into those rusty cogs of Gaijin's machine. Now, speaking of Gaijin's machine, today will be all about Gaijin, and I wanted to tackle their more internal problems. And with that in mind, I decided to, stretch a little bit and obtain some bits of information that some may consider classified, others may consider confidential. I consider it food for thought. Now, the messages of these participants have been censored to a certain extent, so the names will not be made available, nor with the pictures, so I'm leaving it open to speculation. I don't want this to be too high up there on the Keemstar level of drama, just, like I said, food for thought. Something that we can look at, something we can discuss with, and something that will give you a bit of an insight on how Gaijin as a company works. So bear with me as I open my time machine and travel back to the ancient year of 2017, when I came across a War Thunder battle rating suggestions post. I was bored, I was reading through these changes, I was trying to figure out why nothing ever gets fixed. Now, battle ratings as a entity is mostly handled, I believe, by statistics. I think Gaijin looks at stats, they say this plane performing too well, lower the BR, or raise its repair cost, or whatever it is that you're doing. The issue is that there is something called a battle rating suggestion thread. Essentially, a moderator will open up a forum thread, and people will just start commenting one after another about what they want to see fixed, why they want to see the battle rating go up or down. These threads, they're a great way to collect suggestions, except that they're littered with people who have no experience in the vehicles. You can suggest any battle rating for any vehicle you don't even own, and at the end of the day, this is all handled by one person, one moderator, one human has to go through. And I'm not talking about dozens, we're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of these posts, these messages. And we have thousands of vehicles in the game. How anybody could do this and remain sane is beyond me. So I thought I'd help this guy out. I had the knowledge, I had the contacts, we knew what battle rings should be implemented, where it should be decompressed, and I could kill two birds with one stone. On one hand, the game's getting fixed. On the other hand, this moderator suddenly has way less work. In fact, he can, and I shouldn't say this, but he could ignore every single comment on that thread and it wouldn't really matter because ultimately the battle ratings would get fixed. But of course, we're talking about reaching out to an individual who is overburdened, probably extremely stressed, extremely busy, relatively bitter due to the situation that he is in, and I think ultimately unqualified and inexperienced for the job he's doing. Now, as far as jobs are concerned, usually things start with some sort of formal experience. We're talking a degree. Maybe there's going to be a theoretical exam. Maybe there's going to be an interview. But for sure, there's going to be some type of an internship or a training program, some type of an adjustment period. A lot of reviews. There has to be a lot of communication. This person has to be able to do teamwork. Obviously, it depends on the job we're talking about. But honestly, if you're a Gaussian developer or if you're a waiter at a local cafe, if you work at the pub, if you're a football coach, I don't think it matters. At the end of the day, there are certain things that have to be taken care of. This underlining baseline structure for that person to be able to fit in to that job, to fit into that environment and perform well in it, and make sure that others that work in that environment will perform well in it. So the next time you're sitting in the War Thunder lobby, the hangar, and you're looking at your account, you spent thousands of dollars in, and you spent thousands of hours just grinding and doing all these events you don't care about, and now you have all these vehicles you don't need. And then you see this one plane you really want to take out, and you remember, damn, but this bat rating it's too compressed. I don't like this. Maybe I should make a difference. Maybe I should take a stand. So what you're going to do as a polite and a responsible War Thunder player, you'll go to the War Thunder forums. You'll find a correct thread. You'll put in an entire post, and maybe you'll even put some pictures in and make it look all nice. And you're going to put like 10 different lines of arguments and why this is, wrong and how it has to be changed. Keep in mind, on the other side, there's going to be a person staring at their monitor who may have never even played that vehicle. Perhaps they don't have that vehicle. And yet, it's going to be their responsibility, or rather, should I say, their job, to read it and make sense of it and decide whether or not that should be sent to the developer. And should we just say for a moment, for the sake of the discussion, that this suggestion of yours does actually make it through, that the moderator has approved it, has sent it through to the developer. That doesn't mean it's going to be added. That just means the developer is now aware of it and is going to take it under consideration, which means it may or may not be added in the next 5 years. Who knows? This whole system reminds me of going through the airport security, except that there's 3 different airport securities you have to go through, and at no point are you even aware that the person that's checking you for potential weapons has ever even seen what a gun looks like, let alone fired it. Now, I understand I'm a heavy opinionated person, and to a lot of people I'm probably quite dense. I get it. The underlying problem, I think, though, here is that it isn't about what I think, or what you think, or what that 15th YouTuber's opinion on this tank and what the battering he thinks it should have is. It's that, regardless of what we want, we have to follow Gaijin's way of sending information through. None of us want to do that. Nobody really, really wants to be told how they have to do something in order to do it. I hate calling my internet service provider and having to go through 3 different sub-calls and wait for 15 minutes just because currently no operators are available. We don't want that. We want our voices to be heard. And for that, there's only one type of middleman between us and the developer that I think should be acceptable. And that is representatives that we choose are going to be there. Now, years ago, there was something called a War Thunder Player Council. It was a colossal failure, not just because the select few people that were chosen had to be over the age of 21, which obviously limits massively the amount of people that could do that, but they weren't given any real communication. It was just, yet another sort of fence between you and what you wanted to achieve. Alright, now it appears that my crew lock on my time machine has finally worn away, which means we can enter yet another match of time period. And we're going to go to a more recent time now. We're going to go into the YouTube Cup. Probably something you're all familiar with, probably something that you don't like, unless you're a content creator and you won. Because in that case, hey, good for you. You got 100,000 gold, a unique premium, and a rare vehicle with it. Now, I know that for the majority of you, the issues are relatively obvious, right? The stream was unenjoyable to watch, the spectator system is bad, the content creators that already have access to free gold were given the option to make even more free gold, regular tournaments for regular peasants are barely even existent, the rewards are, worth maybe a couple of cents. Yes, it's bad, but I don't think any of that is the real problem. Let me take you back to 2015. When me and theOrangeDoom were invited to do what was a very, very good and very successful esports event, Thunder League Season 1. It had unique camouflages, it had a nice selection of teams, it was incredibly fun to commentate, and I do hope that we were able to do the best with the spectator system that we were supplied to at the time, and the best with our mic quality and whatnot. The things you don't know about that tournament is that we were using Skype to communicate. It was Skype that was recording our voices. It was a confusing system. We had this third-party program that was used to sort of give us the image that the stream was looking at so that we could look at it, so we could commentate on things that you guys were seeing rather than the things that we were seeing so that we would stay on track. It was a clusterfuck. It was difficult to go through all of that. And yet during that time, I know at least 4 different people were working on setting everything up. Today, 2. For the past 4 years, Gaijin has had 2 people working on making tournaments a thing. Now, I've come to understand that War Thunder player base doesn't really care about tournaments, and I think the appeal isn't there because there's no real rewards, and most importantly that they're just foreign. They're not being promoted, and when one does go into a tournament, or hell, just watches a tournament, they'll be met with a weird reality that it's just Arcade Plus. At the end of the day, whether you like markers or not, it's the fact that both game modes, the random game mode that you're playing with your friend and the competitive game mode that you want to learn to play should have relatively similar, if not identical structures so that people feel comfortable. And the only thing that's really different is just the level of skill of the players they'll be fighting with and fighting against, rather than a completely different layout. And the real gem in all this that's being sort of overlooked is the genius bit of coding that is the tournament website, TSS. It's intuitive, it's simple, and for the most part, it works. It creates a lobby, it invites the players who have to be invited to play in that lobby. Everything's set up for you. All you have to do is select the plane, create ready, and that's it. The game does everything else for you. Unfortunately, for the longest amount of time, and I'm not sure if this has been automated by now, but for at least 1.5 years, all of the rewards from the tournaments had to be manually given out by one of the 2 people that were working on it. Can you imagine that you have to manually give a reward to every single person who played any given tournament during a week, every month, whole year? Yeah, that's a pretty stressful environment to work in, but it's nothing compared to what these 2 developers were going to go up against in the YouTube Cup. Now, a little known fact is that we actually had 3 YouTube Cups, and the first one started in 2017. Now, unfortunately, there were a lot of people that probably received the email to join this cup, and yet at the end, it was only hosted for the Russian bloggers, content creators, and streamers. There was some drama to do with it, which was primarily between the top 2 teams, Alconafta and Azeda, because obviously it was a tournament that had a grand reward of the E100, and it was a very sought-after tank, very rare, and back in the day, there was no market, which means the tank couldn't be purchased. It was not locked behind a high paywall. Rather, it was locked behind one broken tournament and one very difficult tournament. So when 2 years later the tournament was announced, we were all focusing on these tiny controversial parts, like the fact that Russians were also invited. This was an international tournament, which is great. What's not great is that they've already had a tournament, the same one. So they're essentially being given another option to win, which, plain put, isn't fair. And I think in the controversy of the amount of reward that we were being given and the sort of outline drama, everybody overlooked one important change. That it happened not to the game, but to the partnership program. You see, when Wolf Mode was first added, there was no partnership program in place. So all the content creators or YouTubers, they all had to play the game just like regular players. Now, not everybody could, be bothered to grind that much or playing multiple games, so they decided to give out press accounts. Accounts that had everything unlocked, had infinite gold, but they were then afraid that these accounts were going to be resold. So they brought out the triple tier system. You would start with either having 1,500 followers on YouTube or Twitch, and then if you could get to the next tier, which was 10,000 on YouTube and 5,000 on Twitch, you could actually get consistent gold and up to 4 different premium vehicles every month. Now, obviously, this partnership was far from perfect. I mean, there was no tier in between, there was no tier after. It was clumsy, and it doesn't mean that if you have 50,000 followers that you're also getting 50,000 views. So these numbers, they lie. They're quite deceptive. Unfortunately for me, I was one of those people who managed to get to 25,000 Twitch followers literally months before they changed the partnership. And when they changed the partnership, there was a lot of emails sent to me about how, it was amazing, it was in the works, they were really proud of it. What they released means that you can be a content creator if you upload YouTube videos and get 500 views, or you stream and you have 10 viewers on average. 10 viewers. That's literally your family. If your family is watching your stream, you're a content creator. This is ludicrous. And this partnership update was being promoted to me months in advance. I was sitting there in anticipation to see what could they possibly come up with, only to realize that what they brought to me was essentially worse than the old one, that I had to grind for, by the way. I was getting less gold, I was being able to request less vehicles, and the worst part of it all is that the promotions we used to have, the videos that used to be shared on Facebook and Twitter, and the stuff they used to actually put on the official website was no longer there. What we did get was another employee, because one person couldn't possibly handle all these 10-viewer Twitch streamer bonanza people coming in, so they had to employ another person just so that he could reply to enough emails. So on one side we have tournaments which have 2 people who are completely overburdened with their work and are as such incapable of creating more and better content, but we received another email boy because there's content creators that need to be fed. And suddenly the YouTube Cup, and with it the grand prize of the E100, which everybody's eyes were on, has become open to not just skilled players whom I think deserve a tournament worthy of competing in, but also to, I guess, content creators with 10 viewers on Twitch. And this isn't me saying that these people don't deserve their chance to get the E100, is that they wouldn't stand a chance to win the E100 if any of these other teams with professional players and people with past tournament experience were going to participate. And since this is a team-based tournament, if I want to win, I don't have to be the best player. I just have to have the best team. And so suddenly it isn't about having fun. It isn't about how well I can perform. It's about how good of a team I can put together. And let's see what Gaijin will do. Is it A, fixing the tournament so that all people can have an equal chance? Is it B, leaving this to be a content creator tournament and making a secondary tournament for the E100 for all the pro teams? Or is it C, banning everybody who's too good? That's right, they just nuked the tournament. They removed all the Russian players, they removed all the good players, and they even removed Mystic and Thunderpants, 2 people who are obviously content creators. And why? They're being punished because they put together a team with the actual desire of winning? So obviously you now have a select number of individuals who are extremely pissed off, and they need to vent to someone. They need to they want to voice their complaints. Can you guess who's going to have to go and sort through all that shit? Yep, it's right. It's those 2 employees. Woohoo! The 2 people who are least responsible, but are taking all the consequences because they have to do things that the management tells them to do. And when I read this, coming from a person that I worked closely with, and I have to say I care about them because they're a down-to-earth individual who's done nothing but their best of efforts to try to make tournaments a thing, to try to develop this as well as they could. To read this, it broke my heart. I wish none of the things I said in this video were true. I wish that all these messages were fake. I wish that it was just all a giant, make up your drama crap. But it hurts me because this is the reality that we're dealing with. And this, unfortunately, isn't just, somebody's hobby. It isn't just somebody's fun. It's somebody's livelihood. And in cases that I sincerely hope are limited, their actual mental health. This is sick. I'm in loss of words, and something has to change. Somebody needs to do something. I think this player base has done a lot. They've always been reaching out. The content creators have always been reaching out. There's always been pushing and pulling, just trying to get things to change, trying to get the information across. We've done everything. We've really exhausted all of our options here. I know I have. And I want Gaijin to reply this time. And I don't want their community managers. I don't want their PR department. I don't even want their developers. This is a job to be purely handled by the CEO and his brother, the creative director. I don't care if it's a Twitch stream, a YouTube video, a blog, a Skype chat, or if he straight up calls my phone. They've got the number. The community has been asking. They've been requesting. They've been begging. Today I'll put my whole body on the chopping block, and I'll use a different word. I'll demand it. Because something has got to give way. And if it doesn't, let's just see where it pops. Hold on, guys. I have a new device with me. It's called a bullshit Geiger counter, and let me just check if it works with this game. So let me just turn it on. And okay, boof.